Father, my freedom is in you alone. 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 Well, I'm forgiveness teacher from the Ozarks, Willie, and we're ready for lesson 321 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. It'll be the next of our 10 lessons. These ones will be under What is Creation. Father, my freedom is in you alone, here on Friday, November the 17th of 2023. And we're reading from the original edition in A Course in Miracles. Father, my freedom is in you alone. I did not understand what made me free, nor what my freedom is, nor where to look to find it. Father, I have searched in vain until I heard your voice directing me. Now I would guide myself no more, for I have neither made nor understood the way to find my freedom. But I trust in you. You who endowed me with my freedom as your holy Son will not be lost to me. Your voice directs me, and the way to you is opening and clear to me at last. Father, my freedom is in you alone. Father, it is my will that I return. Today we answer for the world, which will be freed along with us. How glad we are to find our freedom through the certain way our Father has established, and how sure is all the world's salvation when we learn our freedom can be found in God alone. Father, my freedom is in you alone. Isn't that beautiful? We've learned to listen to the inner voice, the voice for peace, instead of the churning of the mind, or at least we're trying to learn that. we still make lots of mistakes, don't we? But maybe not as many as you used to, huh? Maybe we stop a little quicker and ask for help and find the peace that's our inheritance, that is the voice for God inside. Father, my freedom is in you alone. What is creation? Creation is the sum of all God's thoughts in number infinite and everywhere without all limit. Only love creates, and only like itself. There was no time when all that it created was not there, nor will there be a time when anything that it created suffers any change. Forever and forever are God's thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged through time and after time is done. God's thoughts are given all the power that their own Creator has, for He would add to love by its extension. Thus His Son shares in creation and must therefore share in power to create. What God has willed to be forever one will still be one when time is over, and will not be changed throughout the course of time, remaining as it was before the thought of time began. Creation is the opposite of all illusions, for creation is the truth. Creation is the Holy Son of God, for in creation is His will complete in every aspect, making every part container of the whole. Its oneness is forever guaranteed and inviolate, forever held within His holy will, beyond all possibility of harm, of separation, imperfection, or any spot upon its sinlessness. We are creation, we the sons of God. We seem to be discreet and unaware of our eternal unity with Him, yet back of all our doubts, past all our fears, there still is certainty. For love remains with all its thoughts, its sureness being theirs. God's memory is in our holy minds, which know their oneness and their unity with their Creator. Let our function be only to let this memory return, only to let God's will be done on earth, only to be restored to sanity and to be but as God created us. Our Father calls to us. We hear His voice and we forgive creation in the name of its Creator, holiness itself, whose holiness His own creation shares, whose holiness is still a part of us. Okay, Father, my freedom is in you alone. And our manual for teachers reading for today is How Will the World End? Number 14, and we're also going to read 15. Is each one to be judged in the end? And as you're turning there, so you can follow along if you'd like, which I'd encourage you to if you can, unless you're driving. Probably not a good idea. What holidays and observances are going on today around the world? Well, it's Electronic Greeting Card Day, Homemade Bread Day, and I've got a real good whole wheat bread recipe. This is for 2 loaves. So make this half if you're using a bread machine. This works really nice. I haven't actually used this one yet, but and I'll give you, it's 1.5 cups of water, 1/3 cup of plant milk, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of packed brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of oil, 3 3/4 cup of whole wheat flour, and 1 3/4 teaspoon of bread machine yeast if you're using a bread machine. Of course, make all that in half. You can find it on bakingveganbread.com. So anyway, just if you like to make bread, or if you like to do it the old-fashioned way and roll it up and do it in the oven, that makes for 2 loaves. Happy Ghost Day, International Happy Ghost Day. And Ghost is a sour German beer typically brewed with salt and coriander seed. International Stand Up to Bullying Day. Reminds me of our lesson in fearlessness and love I spend today. If you're having bullying, just remember there's a strength in you that can overcome everything without defense. International Students Day, National Baklava Day, that Mediterranean dessert with honey, a pastry. National Black Cat Day, National Farm Joke Day, and National Farm Joke Day. What farm animal keeps the best time? A watchdog. National Take a Hike Day. Always nice to get out in nature and take a hike. National Unfriend Day, started as a joke from Jimmy Kimmel about Facebook, unfriending people that you're not communicating with. Of course, I don't encourage anyone to not. I encourage you to make friends of everyone. Petroleum Day, might use it for a day to think how you could burn less of it. Substitute Educators Day for all you substitute teachers. Thank you for your service. The Little Mermaid Day, and World Prematurity Awareness Day. And another edible landscaping honeysuckle, another edible honeysuckle, is the Blue Moon edible honeysuckle. It's a Alani-Zara caerulea edulis. And edulis actually means edible in Latin. So it had that last name on this one, edulis. A very attractive, spreading, mounded-shaped shrub. Blue Moon has soft, velvety, bright green foliage and bears large crops of light blue, tasty, tart fruit. Blooms with berry blue as a pollinator. Zones 3 through 7. Okay, so this one here's not the berry. This is the Blue Moon, not to be confused with Blue Moon beer. Blue Moon edible honeysuckle. Okay, well, let's go look now. Take along with us, of course. Father, my freedom is in you alone. And number 14 in the Manual for Teachers, how will the world end? Can what has no beginning really end? The world will end in an illusion, as it began. Yet will its ending be an illusion of mercy, the illusion of forgiveness, complete excluding no one, limitless in gentleness, will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. So ends the world that guilt has made. So ends the world that guilt had made, for now it has no purpose and is gone. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose, that they serve a need or gratify a want. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose, that they serve a need or gratify a want. Perceived as purposeless, they are no longer seen. Their uselessness is recognized and they are gone. How but in this way are all illusions ended? They have been brought to truth, and truth saw them not. It merely overlooked the meaningless. 2. Until forgiveness is complete, the world does have a purpose. It becomes the home in which forgiveness is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Here is it nourished, for here it is needed. A gentle Savior born where sin was made and guilt seemed real. Here is his home, for here there is need of him indeed. He brings the ending of the world with him. It is his call God's teachers answer, turning to him in silence to receive his word. The world will end when all things in it have been rightly judged by his judgment. The world will end when the benediction of holiness upon it. The world will end with the benediction of holiness upon it. When not one thought of sin remains, the world is over. Wow, we want to hasten that. Not one thought of sin remains, and the world is over. It will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will merely cease to seem to be. 3. Certainly this seems to be a long, long while away. When not one thought of sin remains, appears to be a long-range goal indeed. But time stands still and waits on the goals of God's teachers. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts the atonement for himself. Wow, catch that. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts the atonement for himself. Wow, let's reach for the atonement, the interlocking chain of forgiveness, which when complete is the atonement. It is not easier to forgive one sin than to forgive all of them. No order of difficulty in miracles. The illusion of order of difficulty is an obstacle the teacher of God must learn to pass by and leave behind. One sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. Can you understand this? No, it is meaningless to anyone here. Yet it is the final lesson in which unity is restored. It goes against all thinking of the world, but so does heaven. 4. The world will end when its thought system has been completely reversed. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will still seem sensible. The final lesson which brings the ending of the world cannot be grasped by those not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. What then is the function of the teacher of God in this concluding lesson? He need merely learn how to approach it. What then is the function of the teacher of God in this concluding lesson? He need merely learn how to approach it, to be willing to go in its direction. Just be willing to see a sinless world. He need merely trust that if God's voice tells him it is a lesson he can learn it. He does not judge it either as hard or easy. His teacher points to it, and he trusts that he will show him how to learn it. In the last paragraph of this section, 5, the world will end in joy because it is a place of sorrow. When joy has come, the purpose of the world has gone. The world will end in peace because it is a place of war. When peace has come, what is the purpose of the world? The world will end in laughter because it is a place of tears. Where there is laughter, who can longer weep? And only complete forgiveness brings all this to bless the world. In blessing it departs, for it will not end as it began. To turn hell into heaven is the function of God's teachers, for what they teach are lessons in which heaven is reflected. And now sit down in true humility and realize that all God would have you do, you can do. Do not be arrogant and say you cannot learn His own curriculum. His Word says otherwise. His will be done. It cannot be otherwise. And be you thankful it is so. Okay, and before we read 15, I thought I'm sitting back out here where I'm going to be building this greenhouse cabin and octagon, kind of a Osage roundhouse design, more or less. And I wanted to tell you that I thought we were in daylight savings time the other day, and I added an hour. And when I got to look, and I realized that that's not square with the fences around here or anything, the property lines. And I thought I must have got something wrong. So I did some checking. There's actually about 4 ways you can find solar south, true south. And one way is by, at noon, seeing which way the shadow falls, but you've got to make the correction for your longitude. The other way is, and you got to get the right noon, which I was off an hour, and I kept thinking, I'm off. So and then the other way is to find the shortest shadow. It has to be level ground. My land's a little sloped here, so that wouldn't have worked unless I'd laid a piece of wood out, plywood or something, build a deck or leveled it. And then find the shortest, when the shadow is at the shortest, start checking a couple hours before noon and put a mark every maybe 15 minutes, and then find where it gets the shortest with a level stick, and that'll be noon. Another way, you don't need a clock that way. Another way to do it is to use a compass and then find out your location, how far you're off of magnetic north. And it varies year to year, so it doesn't vary a little bit. It varies a little bit because the magnetic poles are shifting constantly, where the true pole doesn't shift. And then maybe the easiest way to do it is to come out in the middle of the night, which I did last night, find the North Star and line it up with that. It's always right. So this first stick here was level. I laid down on the ground, sighted up to find the North Star, and put me another stake in the ground. Got it close enough for what I'm doing. But anyway, that's another good way to do it. I put another rock back down here and laid down and sighted it all in, get further away from it. The North Star is the first star in the handle of the Little Dipper. The Little Dipper pours into the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper, so you can find both the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper, which will be going around the North Star, Polaris. And the 2 bright stars at the end of the Big Dipper almost point directly to Polaris. So you can find it that way. And once you found it, line up your true south, and you've got your building line, north and south line. Okay, I wanted to make sure I made that clear since I'd made a mistake. Figured I better correct that. Is each one to be judged in the end? And of course, let's still take a moment to remember, Father, my freedom is in you alone. Is each one to be judged in the end? Indeed, yes. No one can escape God's final judgment. Who could flee forever from the truth? But the final judgment will not come until it is no longer associated with fear. One day each one will welcome it, and on that very day it will be given him. He will hear his sinlessness proclaimed around and around the world, setting it free as God's final judgment on him is received. This is the judgment in which salvation lies. This is the judgment that will set him free. This is the judgment in which all things are freed with him. Time passes as eternity comes near, and silence lies across the world, that everyone may hear the judgment of the Son of God. And here it is. Holy are you, eternal, free, and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Holy are you, eternal, free, and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Where is the world, and where is sorrow now? And we're going to add that in our song here in a minute. Is this your judgment on yourself, teacher of God? Do you believe that this is wholly true? No, not yet, not yet. But this is still your goal while you are here. It is your function to prepare yourself to hear this judgment and to recognize that it is true. One instant of complete belief in this, and you will go beyond belief to certainty. One instant out of time can bring time's end. Judge not, for you but judge yourself, and thus delay this final judgment. What is your judgment on the world, teacher of God? Have you yet learned to stand aside and hear the voice of judgment in yourself? Or do you still attempt to take his role from him? Learn to be quiet, for his voice is heard in stillness. And his judgment comes to all who stand aside in quiet listening and wait for him. Learn to be quiet, for his voice is heard in stillness. And the last paragraph, 4. You who are sometimes sad and sometimes angry, who sometimes feel your just due is not given you, and your best efforts meet with lack of appreciation and even contempt, give up these foolish thoughts. They are too small and meaningless to occupy your holy minds an instant longer. God's judgment waits for you to set you free. What can the world hold out to you, regardless of your judgments on its gifts, that you would rather have? You will be judged, and judged in fairness and in honesty. There is no deceit in God. His promises are sure. Only remember that his promises have guaranteed that his judgment and his alone will be accepted in the end. It is your function to make that end be soon. It is your function to make that end be soon. It is your function to hold it to your heart and offer it to all the world to keep it safe. Oh, holy are you, eternal, free and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. What a beautiful last judgment, huh? Okay, Father, my freedom is in you alone. I did not understand what made me free, nor what my freedom is, nor where to look to find it. Father, I have searched in vain until I heard your voice directing me. Now I would guide myself no more, for I have neither made nor understood the way to find my freedom. But I trust in you. You who endowed me with my freedom as your holy Son will not be lost to me. Your voice directs me, and the way to you is opening and clear to me at last. Father, my freedom is in you alone. Father, it is my will that I return. Today we answer for the world, which will be freed along with us. How glad are we to find our freedom through the certain way our Father has established. And how sure is all the world's salvation when we learn our freedom can be found in you alone. Okay, well, we've got another series of chord progressions we'll use for the next 10 days. Let's see what kind of song we come up with here. I practiced it last night, so I've got a song, but I'll get better as we do it through the next 10 days. And we use this chord progression for each of our next 10 lessons. Father, my freedom is in you alone. 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 What is creation? Creation is the sum of all God's thoughts, in number infinite and everywhere without all limit. Only love creates, and only like itself. There was no time when all that it created was not there, nor will there be a time when all that it created, suffer any change. Forever and forever our God thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged through time and after time is done. Father, my freedom is in you alone. 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 This, the judgment of the Son of God. Holy are you, eternal, free and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Holy are you, eternal, free and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Holy are you, eternal, free and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Where is the world and where is sorrow now? Father, my freedom is in you alone. 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 Thank you all so much for joining me today. Father, my freedom is in you alone. Let's do the best we can at trying to remember our lesson every hour of the day and finding something to give thanks for. And then let's also take some time in the morning and in the evening to sit quietly. Until tomorrow, Father, my freedom is in you alone. Father, my freedom is in you alone. You know what, I do have to say one more thing. We got enough time, and I've got to just go back to our reading. And let's just remember, when you get yourself jammed and you're not at peace, learn to be quiet, for his voice is heard in stillness. Let's be good at that. To get our bearings by being still and quiet and hearing the voice for God, the voice for peace and joy inside. Father, my freedom is in you alone.